Hello friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Doug, I live in Alaska, and I live an interesting life like most of you do. My mother passed recently, and during the funeral I asked my father if I could make her headstone. I don't know what caused me to have this strange thought or to actually verbalize it and say it out loud, but I did. So anyway, I decided to film it and make a video about making my mother's headstone. Here we go. I live on Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska. So this is a local stone quarry where I source the stone. It's a particular kind of stone. It's a sedimentary rock that is called a turbidite. And this particular turbidite happens to be this green in color with striped banding that's quite pretty looking. This is the stone I picked out here in the back of the truck, and this is the end of the day. End of the first day, I had to take a picture of the sunset of the evening of that day that I acquired the stone. So here we are at the shop. I'll just refer to the shop. Whenever you see this red building, this is where I happen to work. This was another stone I picked up. I can see a buffalo in that one for some reason. But here it sits after I brought it into town, and this is a new grinder polisher that I asked for my birthday, that my wife got for me. I ask for weird things for my birthday, usually tools, something I can use. So this was just me first time taking it out of the box, setting it up, trying to get it where I could use it. And the idea behind this is that it's got a water port and inlet, so that as you're cutting and grinding on stone, the water will keep it cool, and it's automatically feeding it right through the grinder itself, so you don't have to have a hose spraying on it. In Alaska, you got to dig through every last drawer and behind every bush to find any kind of part you can use to make. That's part of the fun of living here. Improvisation you have to come up with, and the things, parts, tools, supplies that you might need that you can't just run down to the store and get living down in lower 48. So apparently I enjoyed running that thing. I'm putting on a grinder head first. The stone, I'm going to try to flatten it by hand, but it's not going to be perfectly like milled flat, but it'll have a concave, it'll be kind of ripply surface, but I'm going to smooth it as best as I can. There'll still be some ripples. There's my fishing boat in the back. A little bit of the scenery in Alaska here. Oh, that's the city morgue. You live in rural Alaska, yeah. It's a video for another day. Anyway, here I'm set up, ready to try my first test. Water squirting out of the middle. Cool. Let's see what this thing does. This particular turbidite, the green color, I think it's probably a vegetation where it gets the green color, but when it was formed way back, I'll have to reread my geology, but I'm not sure what period this was formed. But it's oh yeah, my first test, the head fell off. Doing real well, starting off well, like any project. You don't just go, hey, I'm going to make a headstone, and boom, there it appears. This was actually 2 years in the making. This is the second stone. There was a first attempt the first winter, so it took 2 years after my mother's passing to get this thing on her grave. I wanted to verify that it was going to be big enough for the engraving. I never made a memorial stone before. Who has? So I didn't know how big it needed to be. But I had this idea in my mind that this was going to fit the bill. Anyway. Back to the color of the stone. I think it was had to have been some kind of a plant or a vegetation that was green, or a marine aquatic. The stuff was formed in underwater landslides, turbidites, if you read about them. They're quite interesting in the way they're formed and the geology. This project forced me to read a little bit of geology and start learning a little bit of geology, which after I got into it a few minutes, anybody that knows geology understands quickly why those people are doctors in science, or they need to have a doctorate. Because as I started studying every other word that I read, I had to get a dictionary out to determine what the word even meant that was pertaining to it. So anyway, it's fascinating stuff. I want to learn a lot more. Anyway, geology is an interesting subject. I gotta fill time here because I realize have pre-recorded the video of me talking, so if I'm not talking, my lips are still going to be moving. And if you haven't figured out that my words don't match my lips yet, then I've made my face small enough. Anyway, I'm hoping I sped up this grinding process fast enough. It might be too long of a video, but I've already made the cut on the video. I'm adding the narration later, so this will be a test of me learning how to narrate, see how good of a verbalist I can become, see if I can entrance an audience with my language and speaking. This is quite tedious work. It's a hard stone. Let me give you some more facts about this particular stone. Stones come in different hardnesses, and of course the hardest stone is a diamond, and so all these tools are made with diamonds on them because they're harder than any other stone, so they'll cut anything softer than it. So that's the theory behind having diamond coated tools. And if you already know this stuff and think I'm a dummy, that's fine. Some people watching this may not know that. I don't know everything. I'm real sensitive, so don't critique me too bad. And then that cutting action, you need water for coolant because it'll get too hot. There's a lot of that. I don't know if it's a grinding or a cut. I don't know. That action causes a lot of heat and friction. But anyway, this particular stone, the diamonds on the hardness scale, Rockwell, I believe, is a 10. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10. So this greenstone here, I'm believing it's probably about 6.5 to 7. I think quartz is a 7 or an 8 maybe. Marble is like a 6, so this is harder than marble. Granite's harder than this, so this is between granite and marble maybe. But it's these are the different what is the word? Grits of abrasive, the diamond grit for the polishing stones. These are polishing stones here, but the big one I'm using now is to rough it out. I'm using the grinder to rough the shape flat, and then I'll have to go through all these different stages of abrasive to bring it from a rough cut up to a glossy polish to the surface I'm looking for. But hey, that's the first. After the first attempt on this stone, I got to try and grind out all those little creases and crevices and cracks There's definitely fissures in the stone and whatnot, but we're going to give it a test. I'm hoping it'll stand up to the weather. Time will tell. That was kind of a close-up to show you how the surface looks after the grinding. Looks like a different day here based on the lighting and the truck moving. My mother died in 2022 from complications of COVID. The COVID's what's finally took her out. Or she survived the first bout, hard bout, but I think it took its toll and finally finished her off. So that's what was the genesis of this project. So another issue I had with this is logistics. I live in Alaska, and my mother lived in Utah and passed in Utah, so I got to get this stone from here to Utah, and that I did later in the project. I moved it during the winter when we went down for a visit in the winter. I put it in the back of my truck and we took our truck down. So there I am, having grinded and done some polishing now. I fast forwarded in time a little bit, trying to get it in a little close up. Looks a lot smoother than that first rough grinding. Got a little moisture on, a little water. Or actually that's dried off, and that's actually after I've got most of the polish on it. Actually, I cut out a lot of time. There's just a little water on it. It looked like if it was super pure glossy, but I didn't achieve that degree of gloss, but I definitely got it polished. The surface. Good enough for my attempt. I guess you can kind of see the ripples in that camera too. Here I am down in Utah at my daughter's house, and I'm doing the finishing polish on it, going back and doing some more. Of course, this was in January, so I'm doing this with water outside. Got a break this winter. It was a little more mild. You can really see the nice banding in there. When you get a chance on these close-ups, I didn't take any still photos of them, but the banding in there's some really beautiful strips in there that are really unique, that kind of show what the earth was doing when this stone was formed. Wow, that was interesting. Upside down. All right, here I've cut the stencil. My machine can only cut so big, so I had to do it in two pieces. So I'm doing a fit up of the stencil. What I ended up doing was I cut the stencil and then I drew it on there with magic marker through the stencil, and then I pulled that stencil back off and then recut it and reapplied it, which was a mistake, so don't ever do that. Yeah, you can tell how nice and polished the surface of that stone is by how hard that vinyl is stuck to it. Yeah, it's on there good. But like I said, this is the who makes headstones. This is yeah. I don't know why I'm doing this, why I did it, but I did. So I'm learning like everybody else, doing something for the first time. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. This was neat. It was rewarding because at the end of the day, there's something to show for my efforts. And if you think about it, this thing should last, have a little legacy to it. It should last a little bit of time, at least a few hundred years or more maybe. I used a magic marker, drew the stencil on, and then took it off. See what I did? Yeah, if you're doing this for yourselves, don't do that. Just do one stencil, put it on, sandblast it, and be done. Just make sure you apply the stencil correctly the first time. What happened was I ended up having some of that magic marker left when I was done. This is me sandblasting it. I didn't get any video, but luckily I'd gotten some pictures. Yeah, that's the recut stencil. I did it 2 layers thick to make sure it was thick enough, but I think it would have been just fine. And then I sprayed it with a really good primer that was meant for stone and concrete, and then found the best black paint I thought that would last the longest in there, other than the special stuff that I didn't have time to order. But when this stuff needs touched up in however many years, I'm not sure how long it'll last, I'll have that good stuff, and I'll just probably have to do it with a paintbrush out there in the cemetery. Just some close-ups of the stone when I was done. Then next step, I hauled it down to my sister's and my dad, where my dad's staying, and did a little more cutting on it. I can't remember. I had to rent a hand truck that would handle 1,000 pounds, because I was thinking this thing was 200 or 300 pounds. But after I manhandled this thing for the whole time I dealt with it, I'm gonna guess it was probably pushing 700 pounds. So here we are, coming into the cemetery the day that we're setting it. This is an exciting day for me because I was stressed about it at times because it had taken so long to get the stone, but I knew that a stone isn't usually something that happens overnight. But anyway, I felt like it's pushing the limit, so I was happy that this day was here. Like I said, this was attempt number 2. The first one didn't pan out. And then I also have dreams of one day, as I get better, I may remake this stone altogether. Make a new replacement of even better, but it's not high on my priority list. It was, I believe, March. This had to have been in March of 2024. It was a little chilly that day. It was quite brisk. It's my brother-in-law and my sister. Glad I had their help and their tools and their vehicle. Just doing some gluing down, kind of getting it set, finished putting it in place. Hope this lasts. Yeah, it needs a proper base. Would have been better, but this particular cemetery had these concrete strips, so yeah, I was ready to have it out of my possession in here. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it's done. It's a unique stone. There's not another one like it in that whole cemetery, I guarantee you. That is one unique headstone. That is a Prince of Wales one duck greenstone turbidite. 700 pounds, direct from Alaska. Thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe to see more videos.